Welcome to the Checkpoint CCSA R81 course. So in this particular module, we are going to begin with the installation of checkpoints. But before we start the installation, let's take a look at the topology. So we have two security gateways that are in a cluster, and then we have the security management server that is going to be used in managing these security gateways. And then we also have a Windows server. Now, on this Windows server, we have Smart Console installed on the Windows server. Remember that Smart Console is used to create policies, and then those policies are going to be installed, or rather, the policies are going to be saved or published on the security management server, and then the security management server would install those policies on the security gateways. So we also have switches, ISP, and then the internet. Also remember that this Windows server, in as much as it is housing the smart console, at the same time it is also going to be used as an active directory domain controller. So we're going to be integrating Windows Server with the SMS. SMS stands for the Security Management Server. Okay, so the very first thing that we'll do would be to power up our security gateway. Then we'll double click on it. Okay, so we're going to select install Gaia on this system. Okay, then we'll wait for this to come up. Okay, so as you can see, it is loading the necessary drivers and everything. So this is how it works actually. Whether it is the checkpoint appliance or whether it is an open server, so long as you have the Gaia operating system. Okay, so all you just need to do is power up the appliance or power up the VM, and then it will show you this particular prompt and everything. Okay, so we're going to wait a little bit. Okay, it's still coming up. So it is inspecting the hardware configuration. Okay, so it is saying that this process will install the checkpoint R81 operating system. It is asking us if we want to proceed with installation. We'll click on OK. Then it would ask you for the keyboard type. Would also click on I think okay, so we'll click on OK. So once we use the US keyboard type, for the partitioning, we're going to leave it as it is. So we're going to go with the default value. Then we're going to give it a password. It can be a simple password. Then it is going to ask us to specify the management interface. Now, to make this very clear, okay, if you look at this, there are three interfaces: Ethernet 0, which is the first one, Ethernet 1, which is the second one, and Ethernet 2, which is actually the third interface. Now, we want to manage this security gateway from the local area network. Okay, because we're going to be managing it from this Windows server. So we're going to select Ethernet 0 as the management interface. Then Ethernet 1 is going to be the interface that connects to the internet. Okay, so Ethernet 0 is going to be the management interface, Ethernet 1 is going to be the interface that connects to the internet, and then Ethernet 2 is going to be used for cluster for high availability. Okay, so we'll leave this as Ethernet 0. Okay, then we're going to give it an IP address 15.1. We'll leave the default gateway for now. We'll click on OK, and then the installation would begin. Now, after the installation has been completed, it would prompt us to log in via the web browser to begin the second phase of the installation. So we're saying that the installation is done in two phases. The first phase is where you configure the hardware configuration. You configure things like the keyboard layouts, where you select the US layout. Then you'd also configure the partitions. Okay, so you partition the hard disks, and then you'd also configure the IP addressing as well. Now, when you're done with that first phase, you wait for the installation to get completed. And after the installation has been completed, then it will prompt you to log in to your web browser. So you power up your web browser, you input the IP address of the firewall, and then it will take you to a first time configuration wizard. So we're going to see how this is done. So let's wait for this installation to get completed. Okay, so when the installation has been completed, we'll have to log into our Windows server. Okay, so we'll also install our Windows server as well. So we'll just click on install now. Okay, so we're going to wait for everything to get completed. At the same time, we're going to do the same thing for the SMS and also for the second security gateway. So let's power this up. So we'll start this, and then when it comes up, we'll have to do the same thing again. So we'll double click on it, and then we'll click on install Gaia on this operating system, on this system, and then we'll wait for it to come up. So it's going to begin the installation process. Meanwhile, let's check the first one. So the first one is still installing. The first one is installing. The second one is still installing. And then our Windows server will select standard evaluation server with a GUI, with the GUI option. We'll click on next. Would accept the license. We'll click on next. We'll click on install Windows only. We'll click on load driver. We'll click on browse. We'll come down to floppy disks. We'll select storage. We'll select AMD 64. We'll click on OK. We'll click on next. Okay, so while this is ongoing, okay, so we'll click on next again. Okay, so while this is going on, if you observe, you would notice that the first one, our first firewall, the installation is completed. It has been completed. So we're going to reboot the firewall. And then after rebooting it, we're going to log into our web browser, and then would begin the second phase of the installation. So let's wait for this to get completed. Okay, so it is currently rebooting. In the next module, we are going to log into our web browser, and then would also configure the security gateways and also configure the security management server. I would like to thank you for your time so far. I'll meet you in the next module. Thank you.